Do you love the German TV series Dark? Have you been waiting for the next show to come along to scratch that dark itch? Well, Netflix has got you covered with the new sci-fi murder mystery show, Bodies, which I can confidently say is the next Dark. Well, no, sorry, let me clarify. It is not nearly as good as Dark, but hey, I'm not trying to throw shade. Nothing, or almost nothing, is as good as Dark. It is one of the greatest shows ever. It is a very high benchmark. But if you are looking for sci-fi, timey-wimey madness, murder mysteries, and a whole lot of sadness, then Bodies is the next Dark. Let's call it Budget Dark, Homebrand Dark, Dark Light. Hey guys, I'm Jax, and this is my spoiler-free review for the new Netflix show, Bodies. 4 different detectives, 4 different timelines, 1 body, the same body. That is the premise of this crazy, high-concept, insane sci-fi murder mystery show. It is truly a spectacular idea, and it is almost constantly brought to life in a really captivating, thought-provoking, and interesting way. This show is so good. I thought this was so much fun. I really loved it. It's a limited series. Hopefully it's a one and done. Like, one of my favorite aspects was that when it ended, like, except for maybe like part of the frame in the last 5 seconds, that is like a bit of oh, maybe there will be a season 2. But I don't know what's going on with that thing at the end. But if you ignore that, this is a beautiful one and done 8-episode series. And it is just super crazy. It is super mysterious and weird. And if you like crazy time travel wackiness, paradoxes, time loops, timey-wimey nonsense, you know, in the vein of a Doctor Who, a Dark, a third example of a sci-fi time travel situation, you will absolutely love this. But the thing that really makes this very unique is that it is framed as a murder mystery, and the murder mystery is in 4 different timelines. We got the 1890s, we got the 1940s, we've got modern day in 2023, and then we've got the far-flung utopia, but probably a dystopia, future of 2053. And every single timeline is awesome. They are all brought to life in such beautiful ways. The costumes are delightful. Ooh, if you love a period piece costume and set design situation in your TV shows, you're in for a treat. I particularly loved the 1890s and the 1940s. The 1940s, it's all set in London, so there's the London bombings and some really big scope and scale with what they show, and it all looks incredible. The modern day is probably the least interesting visually, just because it's like the modern day. But by setting one of the 4 timelines in the present day, it really does show how much things have changed from the 1890s and the 1940s to modern day, and then how much has changed due to plots and stuff that I won't spoil here, the future, 2050. And it's just all really interesting, really thought-provoking. It has so much going for it. There are a couple of things which I'll get to that I don't think work as well as, say, a Dark, but for the most part, it does everything so well. Now, I don't really want to spoil too much of the main plot and story and all the story beats, but the main thrust of the arc of the story is that we are following 4 separate detectives in these 4 timelines, and each detective in each timeline finds themselves in their first scene in this one little alleyway, this one laneway, and the same body, the same naked body, falls into 4 different timelines in the same position with the same murder wound and the same markings on their hand. And just from there, the plot just loses its mind. It gets crazy. I really loved how overly insane and convoluted the story is, but in a fun way, in an engaging way. Not in a way where you're like, oh, this is becoming unwieldy. There was never a moment where I felt confused and unclear, like what was going on and where we were, apart from like the obvious mystery box situations where you're not meant to understand yet. But it never felt like it was getting kind of out of hand, and it felt like it was losing sight of the story it was trying to tell. And I think the thing that really grounds all of these really crazy, high concept sci-fi ideas and things they're playing around with is that our 4 main detectives have 4 very unique and interesting stories and very different perspectives. Each detective in each 4 timelines is so unique and interesting, and the way they handle essentially the same case of this naked body in this street. How did it get here? Who killed it? Why is it here? And all the mysteries that kind of sprinkle and kind of flower from this one seed that is this body mysteriously here in this laneway. The way their different perspectives and their different outlooks on life and the way that society is at that time, and how that changes how they try to solve the case and how that changes how they look at the case. All of that stuff is so interesting and so thoroughly engaging. I found the parallels between all of them so very cool. I do think it takes a while to warm up to some of the characters. One minor issue I had is that whilst I found all the main characters very interesting, and I really liked these unique takes, I wouldn't say that I loved them. I wouldn't say that these are lovable characters. This show is very serious. It's very self-serious. There's not much joking about. There's no Doctor Whoing at all in terms of just wacky shenanigans. It's all very serious, and the show feels long because of it. There are 8 episodes, and each episode is an hour to an hour 10 minutes, and it's not that they feel their length, but it is a heavy watch. It is a somber affair at times, and I binged it all essentially in one sitting. I took a break for about an hour. Unintentionally, I had a nap, I was feeling tired, but that was for unrelated life reasons. The show didn't put me to sleep, but I felt like that break was needed, and I came back fresh. So I don't know if this is a fully binge it all in one sitting, the way that some Netflix shows are. But that being said, I did find it very captivating, and every cliffhanger or ending to an episode made me need to start the next episode straight away to find out what was going on. It was all really well put together as a mystery. I do think my other issue, apart from it being maybe a little too self-serious and somber, is that it might be kind of dumber than it thinks it is. It feels like at times feels like it's very clever and very, like it's ambitious and it's thought-provoking, but I don't know if it's like clever the way that I would say Dark is, for instance. It kind of feels like every time there was like a reveal or a revelation, like a big moment would happen and like you'd be like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, I figured that out like 20 minutes ago, maybe even 40 minutes ago. But at the same time, being a limited series, 8 episodes, there's never a point where you're ahead of the game for episodes. And it's only really kind of scenes or moments where you're fully ahead of the game. But that did kind of frustrate me towards the end, where it was like the 5th or 6th time where like this big reveal would happen, and I go, it wasn't me being like, oh, it was more being like, good. I'm glad that this has been revealed now, because I already knew, and I wasn't like half knew, like 50%, like, oh, I'm pretty sure, maybe 60%. It's like, no, I was 100% confident this is what you were saying, like this is what you were, like, you know, this is what you were going to do, and you did it. And so, like, I don't know if that's an issue, because I actually kind of love that at the end of the day, it's quite a simple story. A simple tale of convoluted nonsense and insanity with cults and mysteries and murders and all kinds of wackiness. I enjoyed that once it ended, I went, huh. And I looked at it all and went, that's actually kind of simple and not as confusing as it kind of sets out to be. I do wonder if that will disappoint people, like from the outset. The mystery is very big. It's like very like, how could this possibly be? How can they possibly fulfill the expectations of the audience? And whilst I think they didn't exceed my expectations, they were exactly kind of what I expected it to be. And I found the ending to be very satisfying. There is one twist in the show where it does a thing and you go, oh, okay, so we're doing this. But then it kind of backtracks a little and goes, no, we're doing exactly what you thought. And that was the one where I went, oh, I didn't see that coming. That is spectacular. And that was almost the pinnacle for me. And then they come back to it a bit later, and it's all very emotional and powerful. There are some very heartbreaking moments. This show is not for the faint of heart. It's very dark. It's very intense. It handles all its very dark themes very well. I do think there is one character in particular that has kind of an arc that starts off at this place where we're meant to kind of take for granted how emotionally kind of distraught and damaged they are. And I think maybe they really should have spent more time on that. I really don't want to say much more, but there is one character that I do think they should have spent more time on earlier on for the emotional payoffs in the last 2 episodes. But overall, the structure of the show is spectacular. I really loved how it kind of weaved between the 4 different timelines. Like at certain times we'd spend more time in another one, but it never felt like you're going, get back to that other timeline. Like each time we spent more time in one timeline rather than another. It felt earned, it felt needed. And the way that everything kind of built to a crescendo in the finale was really interesting. I do think there is a couple of sci-fi elements they used towards the end in the last 2 episodes that I found a bit too much. They don't fully ruin the show, but there are a couple of sci-fi elements they whip out that kind of made me go, oh, okay, so you can just do that then, can you? Well, okay. And that, it didn't destroy the episodes, it didn't ruin anything, but there are definitely a couple of moments in there that made me go, no, I don't like that. The acting across the board for not just our main 4 detectives, but all our minor characters, all our major players that aren't the detectives, are all spectacular. The acting is really, really strong. I really do love the contrast between how the different kind of eras portrayed their characters, like the different people in the different eras portrayed the characters. It was all just really, really top notch. I think one of the standouts for me is in the 1890s. Our main detective there is played by the Rent-A-Cop from Andor. He is sensational. His plot was probably the most emotional and sad for me. I really, really liked his portrayal of his character. Everything that went along with him was really, really good. And the other standout for me was Stephen Graham. I often feel like he's a little typecast in being very loud and brutal and mean and just bombastic and big. And it's quite a restrained, quiet performance compared to kind of the big performances that are memorable to me in his career, such as This Is England and Boardwalk Empire and shows like that where he plays a certain type of character. In this, he plays a very different type of character. And I think he absolutely nails it. He's super, super good. That was kind of the surprise kind of element to me, because at first I was like, oh, he seems like an odd casting. Like, I don't know if he'd be the guy I'd go to for this, but he absolutely nails it. But I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. Everyone was amazing. Those 2 guys just, I don't know, their stories in particular really spoke to me. I thought they were handled the best. I really liked everybody though. And at the end of it, when everything is said and done, and it feels like a one and done complete season, despite the last 5 seconds of the show being like, maybe a season 2. But hey, once you start watching the show, you'll expect a kind of ending like that. But apart from that 5 seconds and that one little thing in the background, this is a beautiful, satisfying, one-and-done show. And a lot of the time with sci-fi premises like this, I am sure there are plot holes or inconsistencies or things that don't really make sense. And maybe this show has it. But for me, watching it through, I was never just going, wait, that doesn't make sense because this or that. Like, everything with the lore and the mythology they set up in this universe worked, and they stayed true to what they set up as the rules of the sci-fi, timey-wimey insanity that is this show. It's so good. Honestly, it's so good. I had so much fun with it. It is not as good as Dark. I think the main thing for me is the characters in Dark, the cinematography in Dark, the score in Dark, and the plot as well. All of that is so much better in Dark, but Dark is so unique and so special, despite I did not like the finale of Dark, but it doesn't ruin anything. But I think if you're looking for it to be as good, you might be a little disappointed. But I think if you're just wanting a Dark-esque type of show, Dark Light, Homebrand Dark, Budget Dark, this is as good as Homebrand Dark could possibly be. Like, when I say Homebrand Dark, I mean that in the best of ways. Like, this is so good. I just love shows like this that are so ambitious and crazy and insane, and they're doing so many big things, big high concept things, but they are never straying away from the things that really matter with our characters and their characters' journeys, the characters' arcs, and their emotional kind of stories that they are telling. It never loses sight of those things, and the big sci-fi concepts only work because of the emotional groundwork they do with these characters. It's honestly, I don't even know if I thought I loved it as much as I did when I started the review, and now I'm just talking about it and thinking about it, and I'm like, it's so good. I had so much fun with this. Awesome show. Highly recommend. Must watch on Netflix. Loved it. Highly recommend. And if you have seen it, I would love to know. What'd you think? Big yays? Big nays? A nuanced, mixed opinion. I would love to hear what people think. Comment below. Let me know. Did you like Bodies? Or are you just like, I think I'll just rewatch Dark? Which is fair. In fact, after I've finished editing this, I might just start a rewatch of Dark.